also the 50th anniversary of American Pie.
Right.
Take us back a little bit.
I was a nobody. I had put out an album called Tapestry, and the album was very successful in the sense that it probably ended up selling gold actually, so I wouldn't say it, but initially it was selling well, and it was an underground album. The people like at WPLJ and WMMR and places around the country in California would play the whole record. They liked it a lot, and they liked what I was doing, the songs I was writing. And so then all of a sudden, I had another album to do, and I had spent, years just collecting these songs and working and hoping and praying that I could make a record, just one. That's all. I just wanted to make one album. The show I was in the world. Um, so the Tapestry was a heck of a hard thing to get out and to do, but I kept changing it and rewriting it, and it was getting better and better and better. It was really the hardest album that I ever put out, and it did more than I had ever hoped. Because I'm hearing myself on the radio a lot, and people are writing great reviews about it and giving it 5 stars and all this good stuff. And so then I was a year later, yeah, I had to come up with something else, and frankly, I was tapped out, so I had a couple left over from the first one, and I started writing a few more, and then Vincent happened, and that turned out real well. I played that one night for a bunch of high school kids, um, and they weren't paying much attention to me, but when they heard that song, everybody stopped and they listened. And I thought to myself, that is interesting, because you're testing these out. It's like a focus group, I guess you'd say today. So it was very nice, and they loved it. And I was learning how to perform, how to communicate with an audience, how to reach them. It's a different thing. You don't just go out and sing one song after another. You have to reach people on a personal level. It's and you cannot reach them also, and they can be hostile for sure. I mean, I was an opening act for a lot of James Gang and Three Dog Night and Steppenwolf, and believe me, those were hostile audiences. Sometimes they wanted what they wanted. I learned how to turn that around. So anyway, I'm working on this American Pie idea. I had this idea for a long song. I wanted to write a song about America. America has always thrilled me, and it's always inspired me. The insanity of America, the magnificence of America, the creativity, like everything comes from this country, this big mess of a country of ours. It's not neat, it's not organized, it's a mess all the time. It's always people fighting and arguing and moving somehow in a vector forward, in spite of ourselves. It's fascinating. So kind of the vector idea was really what I wanted to get into the song, which is pretty crazy and hard thing to do. And I came up with this idea that somehow the politics and the music seem to influence each other going forward. So that was the vector. And I had this notion, see, where I could move forward. And I created this song it's almost like a folk song. It's verse and chorus, but each chorus gets more intense. And then it drops down to I guess you'd call it a coda at the end, and there's a vamp in the front, which is very much like an old-fashioned popular song. A vamp would be the part of the song that you never hear. For example, I'll sing you a vamp. Um, Your eyes once told me a story. I built my castles on air. Life was soon dimmed of its glory. I loved you, but you ceased to care. You broke the news to me kindly. I can't say that you were unfair, but just because I loved you blindly, I have the burden to share. Then it starts. There's nothing left for me of days that used to be. I live in memory among my souvenirs. You see?
Yeah,
Now,
yeah,
most people don't sing that first part.
yeah.
But I guarantee you, if you saw Johnny Mathis, he would sing that part because that's what he does. He respects the song, the whole song. He does that all the time.
People have really focused on this idea of like what's the meaning of the song, and uh, really come up with this sense that it's about a loss of innocence and sort of matched with that period going back.
Well, that is true. It is about loss in a lot of different ways. A lot of my songs are about loss.
Yeah,
I don't think that I feel that way anymore. I'm old now, and I'm glad to be alive, and I'm glad to say to myself, "My God, I lived a long time, way longer than all those other guys I started with, and I got to see what it would be like if I'd come back from the dead, and had another 20, 30 years to live and see what went on." So I'm always thankful, really. I'm not really, because I know I'm going to lose everything at some point. That's what we all have to lose everything. The Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. That's the simple equation of this life is that no matter how much you have, you're going to lose it. So once you accept that fact rather than lamenting it, so I'm a different guy really than when I wrote those songs, but I am always that guy also. There are other people that have come out, but the song really, I love the idea of keying it to the Buddy Holly tragedy, and then starting my longer story with that as a preamble to the song, and it worked really beautifully. But I took a long, long time to figure it out. I took 3 months really to fool with it. I said I don't want to rush this or hurry it up. And I had these people at the record company breathing down my neck. They wanted that next record. And I said, well, you'll get it, but I mean, I got to finish it. And I knew I shouldn't rush it.
you surprised by the enormous success of the song and
Well,
longevity.
the song has been um, a touchstone, but it has not been, a success like on the level of a Michael Jackson with 28 million or the Bee Gees with 26 million, of Staying Alive. That is where the music business went. It sold several million copies, and back in 1970 or 71, that was a big success. The Beatles would sell twice that. They'd sell 5 or 6 million, but they weren't selling 28 million. That happened at the end of the 70s. The music business built and built and built, and it was a religion almost now, rather than just being something that you had a record or two. It didn't matter that much. That was where Buddy Holly's time, when a rock and roll singer died, nobody really cared that much. So what? They're not very good singers anyway. This kind of thing, but American Pie helped transform that into a religion almost. So I'm part of the. This is why Rolling Stone always hated me, because I took control of the narrative,
Yeah.
and they have control of it. They think, but they don't.